Hello and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Frietag, and with me today, finally, we're able to get Captain Nick Fournier on the podcast. Nick, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I figured there's only so many times you can dodge your chief before you get in trouble. So.
Right. I mean, I called you the other night at Station 50, and I said, I have an opportunity for you, and you said, I'm not at Station 50 if you're looking for me.
Mm-hmm. I said, nope, sorry, got to take this somewhere else.
Yeah, but I knew where you were. I found you. So, you know what we're going to talk about today is CAFMA Wants You, right? It's like the old Uncle Sam poster for World War II. We want you. We're going through a recruit process right now, and it's challenging. I mean, years ago, people lined up.
Yeah, you didn't have to advertise at all. People sought you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And over the last several years, that has changed where we have to go out and actively look for new people to get in, not just to CAFMA, but to the fire service in general. So what I want to talk to you about is both. How do we market this profession? And really, that's what it is. A lot of people, they call it a job. They call it the fire department. But I think of this as a profession.
Yeah, I do too. And it's a really rewarding one at that. And that's my favorite thing about it, is that I get to help people out. I get to do it in a way that they can't pay me back. There's no limit to the amount of things that you as a chief will, well, there is a limit, but there's a vast number of things that I can get into and experience and try and use to help people out in their worst days.
Right. And those limits are the rails, so to speak, are pretty wide in this organization in a lot of ways. Because one, we like to have fun. And two, we want to go beyond the expectation of the customer. We want to go beyond what the person who called 911 expects of us when we're in the field. And that's really not beyond 911, not just when they call us, but when we see them out in public.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The interaction with people is a lot of fun for me. And like you said, if your job or your career isn't fun, you got to find one that is fun for you, because this one is so much fun. It's so rewarding in the fact that even if we don't, on those great days where we don't run calls, I still am sore from laughing and having fun with the guys that I work with and gals. But it's just the rewarding aspect is twofold. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help people. And that interaction that we have with people is just rewarding in itself, knowing that even though maybe I didn't help them directly, they know that I am there for them. I'm trained, I'm ready, I'm equipped, and I'm willing to do whatever I can, again, within those rails, within the safety bumpers that you give us, to be able to do that.
Well, and you're a company officer now with CAFMA. And in that position as a company officer, you have the opportunity to mentor, mold, and help develop the next generation of fire service leaders for us.
Yep. Mentor, mold, scar, beat, whatever you want to call it. But yes, and that's pretty fun too. And I didn't understand that role until I did get into the acting captain and captain phase, where you had people legitimately ask your opinion, and it was really weird for me the first time, because I'm like, I don't really want to tell you how you can do things or what to do. I'd rather just do things, and if you like it the way I did it, you can. But it became easier and easier to give advice, because it was things that I had learned through making mistakes or watching people that, hey, I didn't like how that guy did it, so I'm going to go and figure out a way that makes me feel good, that I can deliver services, that I can help people out, but it also makes me feel good at the end of the day. And I know that if you were to hear about it, you would feel good.
Well, and I like the fact that you're one of the people in this organization that I can pick up the phone and call you and ask for your opinion. What do you think of this, Nick? What do you think of this decision or direction, or can you help me with this? And I think, to me, within this organization, that's one of the things I like about the culture, is there's not a barrier between ranks that says, hey, this rank can't reach over and ask this rank for their opinion or direction or advice. And I don't think we see it that way in this organization. I think we see it as everybody has something to offer, and it's good to get the varying opinions and advice before making crucial decisions in a non-emergency event.
Yeah, and the big part of that to me is that it's, for this job, people ask you, hey, what do you do? And when I say I'm a captain on the fire department, it doesn't it doesn't really check all the boxes because there's so many other things that I pull from other aspects of my life or training that you've, allowed us to go to or things that we've been involved with that kind of add a little bit more to what I really am and who I really am. And there's so many people on the department as well. Like if I have a specific question about, softball, I'm going to ask, Evan Lavicek and Dustin Para, not just because, they're people that I respect, because I know that that is a passion that they dive into. There's so many other people, regardless of rank, that you can seek their input on stuff. And it happens on any number of calls that we go on, that it's not just, hey, you learned this, then you were firefighter 1 and 2, but this is some life experience thing that I've put away in that slideshow that I'm building every single day. And it helps me out. And maybe it's not something that has to do with the fact that I'm a captain with the fire department, but it has to do with the fact that I've seen this before, or this is something I'm passionate about.
Sure.
And there's, for as many people that are on the floor, over 100 right now, I think.
Yeah, about 120.
About 120, you have 120 different sets of skills that, we all know very similar things, but we all know them in a little bit of different way, so we can communicate to that to each other, or we can help each other out in all these tiny beneficial little ways.
Well, and you brought up Evan and Dustin. So real quick, talking about Evan, you were Evan's captain when he was an engineer, and Evan is a very talented individual. And I think if he wants to be a battalion chief someday, he can achieve that here. But when we look at people,
that? Evan, you have to test for BC.
I told him he won't listen. Yeah. I told him when he was on the podcast, sweating, looks like we poured a bucket over his head.
Yeah, I was really lucky to have Evan, and he was that person 100% of the time. So I lucked out with the first crew I had was Evan Lavicek as my engineer and Kenny Turner as my firefighter. And Kenny already had been a firefighter for like 12 years.
Right.
So as far as having to teach a new crew, I think that they kind of taught me a little bit more and said, hey man, it's going to be okay. We've had captains before. You're going to be okay.
But it's got to feel good. I think it would feel good that as Evan's captain, you were able to help guide him along as he developed as an engineer and worked towards company officer. And now your engineer tests for company officer and gets promoted. It does. That's a pretty good feeling.
It does. And it's like I was mentioning earlier, that it's not necessarily the fact that I sat Evan down and I said, hey man, this is how you should do things. This is it. It's more from the other part that I love about this job is that constant debrief that you get. If you go and do something, like immediately you have two other either advocates or critics sitting right there with you who can say, hey, I don't think that worked out very well. And a lot of that hopefully helped Evan was, hey man, I did this, but it didn't work out so great. Or I did this and I think that was awesome. I think that this is how people probably should do it from now on. And those kind of situations. And we were lucky to have a lot of critical calls that if it weren't for him, it probably wouldn't have succeeded. And in the same for me, had I not been there, it might not have gone as well as it did. And, I think the makeup of our crew really helped that out.
Yeah. Well, and as a company officer, as a fire chief, we're not creating talent in people. We're developing the talents that they bring to the table. And sometimes providing a little focus and clarity about what their talents really are and how they should get back to those.
You're not as good at this as you think you are, but there's this other thing that you're really, really good at. And so with testing being something around the corner for different positions, there's a lot of people who are starting to think about, I should probably talk to so-and-so about this aspect of engineering, or I should talk to this person because they had this critical call and I'm afraid that's going to be part of the scenarios or part of the oral boards.
Right.
I should pick their brain. And that's the other cool thing is that there are, for anything that I may lack, somebody else is that much better at it that I can point, I can point my firefighter to and be like, you know what, you're not getting it from me and that's okay. Talk to this person. They'll be able to speak whatever language you're needing to hear it in and help you out with that.
So, and along the lines of Chief Para, our training chief, Dustin Para, you have a mustache.
I do.
Well, you call it a mustache.
I'm trying.
And then we have Dustin.
I don't think we can call that a mustache. I think mine is a mustache. Whatever he's got is another life form, maybe.
I don't know if he was born that way, if that's the way he came out, but I mean, that's a mustache.
I'm going to shave now.
Yeah, that's a mustache. I would feel bad.
See, and I don't know how he gets them all to go the same way. I've got some that are just doing their own thing, and I have to get rid of them. But that is just well done, Dustin.
I think the mustache developed, and then Dustin developed around it.
It might have been that. Well, have we
that way?
Have we interviewed the mustache yet?
We haven't, but
we might
we should.
Have to find out. The mustache might be mad and be like, "Hey, Dustin's getting all this credit," but honestly, come on,
it's me.
It's me.
Jonah, we should do that sometime. Okay. We'll get Dustin just right there. And we could talk to him there. So Nick, what drove you when you were thinking about what career field you wanted to get into, what you wanted to do with your life when you grew up? And I know you've been conflicted at one point in your career because you do have some law enforcement in you as a SWAT medic, and we don't hold that against you. I mean, we like our law enforcement partners, and we understand that genetically you're the fire department. You just, everybody has their faults.
That's okay. And I get a lot of the jokes. They call me a second responder, but I can be a first responder as well because I get to go out on some of those cool things with them as well. But what got me started, like after I didn't honestly know that I'd wanted to be a firefighter. When I have an older brother, PJ, I'm the youngest of 10 kids, but the closest brother to me, PJ, was a hotshot for Prescott Hotshots for a number of years, and then moved to California, but worked all around doing wildland firefighting. He attended the Yavapai College Academy years ago because he's really old. I can't remember how long ago, but long time ago. Okay. And he was a model for me to look up to because he liked to do things but not get credit for it. Like he liked to leave things better than he found it but not have anybody know about it. Almost like that superhero-esque feeling. And I liked that as well. And one of the mantras that my dad used to say a lot was, if you really want to be happy, help somebody in a way that they can't pay you back. So fast forward to me being in high school, really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to go to college and play sports, and it turns out I'm not. I try really hard, but I'm not really good at most stuff, which is okay. Yeah. I'm no Evan. But after I figured out that I sent my grades to colleges, they were like, yeah, you can come here if you want. I mean, you're going to pay for it, but you can come here if you want. I realized, man, I probably should find something else. And applied to Yavapai College through scholarships that I got from, I can't remember, the Kiwanis Club and other things that I'd been involved with. And they were able to pay for all this stuff. And so I took Firefighter 1 and 2 and was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I took EMT. I'm like, wow, that's cool too. I mean, I could do this for a job. And they said, yeah, as a matter of fact, if you want to volunteer, there's a place, where we're accepting applications right now. And I started working for Groom Creek Fire, which is, just south of Prescott.
Right.
Got on their fuels crew. And all of this wasn't, I lucked out big time because I wasn't actively seeking this out. I'm not a story where I've applied and tested 900 times and eventually finally got my way through the door. Right. Everywhere I tested, they were hiring tons and tons of people. Even here, they hired tons of people for our reserve academy. And then for the full-time hiring process, they hired tons of people. Right. But I was being swept up in it and realizing, yeah, this is really what I want to do. I remember the first call, EMS call that I went on was a lady. I had to check her blood sugar because that's one of the vitals that we do. And I was so nervous that I was shaking, and she could tell because I couldn't get the Band-Aid on. And her hand was shaking because I was shaking her hand with my hand. But I was so excited once that it was all done. And she was so nice that I was like, yep, I'm going to get better at this. Next time I check your sugar, it's going to be so good. Yeah. But the instant reward that I got from it of getting back in the truck from a call and realizing that we made this lady's day better. Right. And she, that's it. Like I didn't have to present her with a bill. I didn't have to collect money. I didn't have to do any of this stuff. And then if she was going to call again, she would be happy to have us. And that made me feel instantly, yep, this is what I want to do. I'm hooked. So.
And the thing I like about that story, Nick, is you didn't talk about the first structure fire you had and the adrenaline rush.
It took years for that.
Yeah, and all of that goes into it, because we want people to understand when you're getting into this field, it's not all about fighting structure fires. It's not all about major motor vehicle crashes. A lot of what we do, a majority of what we do, is what you just talked about. Mm-hmm. You went in, you checked this individual's blood sugar, you gave her a Band-Aid, she felt better, you felt good about making a difference in her day, because that's truly what happens. I mean, people don't realize that those calls like that, you've made a difference for someone. Mm-hmm. You've made their day, even if it's just that you have a great bedside manner with patients and people on any incident scene. So you actually make them feel important, like they mean something. And that's, you don't see that a lot today in people. But in this field, that's exactly what you get to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the bedside manner thing is something that comes easy to me because from being a little kid, my parents always made us talk to other people. Like I had jobs where I had to meet and greet people. I had to do all kinds of things. So nowadays where it seems like younger people are uncomfortable initiating conversation, I don't care. I'm going to get to know this person pretty quick. And especially knowing that, hey, this person called for help in some way, shape, or form. I can be that one. I can be the helper. that does this. And so the bedside manner, I try and alleviate stress as best I can, not just for the patient who's having maybe a terrible day, but also the brand new EMTs that we're working with or the trainees that we may have, because they're not having a terrible day, but they don't know what to do.
Right.
And so if you can kind of calm everybody down, and sometimes you make a couple of jokes, not practicing my type 5 for stand-up comedy or anything, but just trying to make them feel a little bit better that it's going to be okay. Or if it's, if it is drastic, being honest with them and still using a decent bedside manner to tell you, hey, there's something critical going on, but you know what, here's what we're going to do. Keep them informed on every step. I'm going to start an IV. I'm going to give you this medication, and then we're going to go from there. We're going to get you to a hospital, and, the food is terrible, but you don't want to stay there anyway. So we're going to get you to the hospital. They'll get you fixed and come back home.
Motivation to get home.
Yeah.
So, this job can be stressful. So what are some things that you do to reduce stress? For fun.
I, number one, I look at Dustin's mustache. No. Number one, I keep.
Wait a second.
I kind of had a feeling this was going to be in there.
Where are you at here?
So we're in Las Vegas.
Okay. Ooh.
And it turns out if you buy a certain drink, you get a free shot. And you're like, great, a free shot. But there are only shots to choose from where Jose Cuervo, what's that peppermint one? Fireball, and then another terrible med.
Gotcha.
If you like those, you probably get checked into the hospital. Those aren't very good for you. Well, none of it is. But the person that I got the free shot for was like, no, we're good. And my daughter has made a couple of videos of me stone-faced, taking something in the face. And so I wouldn't say that's so much a stress reliever for me, but it made everybody else feel good. So therefore, it made me feel good.
So you help other people.
I do.
Even when you're off de-stressing yourself, you help other people.
I do the best I can.
Yeah. Well, and we do see a lot of pictures of you with your family doing different things. And, that's an awesome way to de-stress like this.
Yeah.
By the way, I did have permission.
I'm sure you did. When I left the house today, this Avery, my daughter, said, I know a secret. I said, okay. And so they're terrible at keeping secrets, but I figured I'd come into this without knowing anything. But I would imagine that social media would be up there. So we like to carve pumpkins on Halloween.
It's an interesting look.
I guess I do need to keep the mustache.
Yeah, maybe, because that looks...
This isn't the face that I show to the
eerie.
patients. Yeah, that one's a little bit creepy.
Now, there was another one that I had.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't think we can use that.
Okay.
Because
who did you get that one from? Because if you... Okay.
Somewhere.
Okay, fair enough.
But I spoke to one of the police sergeants last night, and I was telling him about this because he thought it was hilarious. And I said, well, there's one that she sent that, he's blow drying a rifle, and which I can't put on the fire department thing. I can talk about it with you. And he said, so he gave me the background, which was you were out on a SWAT call out in the rain for 2 hours. And so you were trying to clean your equipment.
I was.
And dry it so it didn't rust.
Correct.
So we just want to be clear with that.
Yes.
But I thought...
I do love my service weapons, but the blow dryer was just because I'd been trying to dry it for so long, and my wife said, hey, dummy, how about you use a blow dryer? And I said,
right.
Sounds pretty good. And I should know that anytime she's willing to help me with something, there's usually going to be a picture of it a little bit later.
Right.
But yes, that one actually was probably the hardest rain I'd personally been in, and also hail. We carry a little dump pouch next to us.
Okay.
And about 10 minutes after standing in the call, you get so soaked that your boots are full. And by the time you stop carrying, I reached into my dump pouch to grab something and pulled out a handful of, pea-size hail.
Frozen hail.
Yeah.
Not good.
In the middle of July.
Right.
Yes.
There's been a lot of that lately. I mean, good monsoon season.
Yes.
Not good for the tools that police officers use.
Indeed. Yeah.
I mean, at least for firefighters, all our stuff is wet all the time.
But you know what? I'm not so worried now because I have a blow dryer that I can use to dry off.
True.
All my equipment.
I thought it was a great little reel. Just it wasn't something I felt we could put on this podcast.
Well, I think you could paint in the light where, you advocate for taking care of your equipment. You take care of your equipment takes care of you.
That is true.
Brought to you by blow dryers.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. So some of the other stuff that you take part in, besides being a SWAT medic, besides being a company officer, the CAFMA firefighter charities, the Thanksgiving Flying High Turkey Drive with Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Marnie Ewell.
Has she been
awesome.
on here?
She has not, but we're going to get her on here because of the partnership between us.
Yep.
There you are.
That's not
McGruff.
Marnie. That's Ruff McGruff, the crime dog.
We consider the ladder truck Marnie's truck, and we're going to put her name on it somewhere at some point.
I'm okay with that too. Or you could put a big turkey on it.
Yeah, it's used every year for that event. So, and what this shows really is that commitment to community, and that's what we try to do at CAFMA is have that commitment to the communities that we serve, being out, talking to little kids, letting them try on the gear, get them interested early in a career in the fire department. Now, I would say come work for the best fire department in Arizona.
I would say do that too.
However, quite honestly, coming from out of state, Arizona has some high quality agencies.
Not going to get in trouble with all your other chief friends.
No.
Okay. Gotcha.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. But we really do have a lot of good agencies with a lot of good chief officers, firefighters, company officers throughout who all strive to do that extra for their communities that they serve. And I think part of what I wanted to talk about today, yes, we do want to talk about recruiting for our agency and why it's good to come work here, but I think the other part of that and the bigger picture as we look at it is get involved in the fire service. It's a great profession. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, white and black, Asian, whatever. This could be a career field that for you. And whether you choose us or you choose the city of Prescott or city of Scottsdale or city of Phoenix, Mesa Fire Department, Chandler, wherever it is, there are some great departments in this state. And overall, as a fire service in the state, we do some amazing things. And that's why we really want to recruit for the entire profession.
Like you said, work for the best fire department. We're not saying, one over the other, but there is a department that is the best for you. There are several people who have switched departments but stayed within the same career, and they found a place that felt like home. And the great thing is I grew up here, so it was easy for me to want to stay here. I knew all the streets and stoplights before becoming an engineer here. I knew the area. I knew what things to look out for. But I also get it's kind of like a double-edged sword, but the joy of helping people that I might personally know or that might know my family or might know somebody that I know that I can help connect them and make them feel a little bit better as opposed to a brand new stranger. Great, now I have to meet this person who's probably going to make some judgments because of whatever situation is going on. Now you can put somebody at ease and they truly know that you're there to help you. Help them, But working in like that community-based, whether it be Scottsdale, Tucson, anywhere that you end up, if you can give back to your community, it feels so much better on top of already being in the fire service.
Well, and like you said, Nick, it's finding the right fit for you. Now, we are certainly, in my opinion, a solidly good department. I think we do.
I think it's safe to make that assumption. Yes, solidly good.
We try to do good things here. We strive to be innovative. We strive to be progressive. We really want to develop leaders within the organization, and we want to give people meaning in their life and profession. And we want to show them that they're valued, valued as a member of our organization, valued as a member of the community, valued as somebody that makes a difference in people's lives every day. And I feel comfortable saying making a difference in people's lives every day because it doesn't matter whether the call was a cardiac arrest and you were able to bring them back. And so now they're back home with their family, or you went in and help someone who's elderly change a battery in their smoke detector.
Correct. Yeah. And that's another great thing about this career is that it could be that hellfire and brimstone of, that massive structure fire with cats on fire and everything. Or it could be that person who legitimately says, hey, I just can't reach my smoke detectors and, it's beeping. I can't sleep. That's super easy for me. I don't get frustrated at that because I know how to fix that. I know what it means to us to have people have functioning smoke detectors, but I also know what it means for them to know that they've got somebody who will help them should they need it.
Right. Well, and people sometimes ask, why do you go on calls like that? Why are you changing the battery in the smoke detector? One, they're a tax-paying citizen and they called us. But two, most of the folks who call for something like that really aren't in a position where they should be up climbing up a ladder. And I would rather go change the smoke detector battery for them than go in and transport them to the hospital because they broke a leg or broke a hip or broke an arm. And now we're still changing the battery and we're transporting them.
We still have to do that while we're holding traction on their broken leg. We're like, man, I'm going to change that battery. That's really bugging me.
Right.
But the prevention aspect, and that's what that part is. We're preventing that person from falling and hurting themselves. You know, the mitigation part is really fun. You know, should something terrible be happening, I'm more than happy to step in and do everything I can to stop it. But on the other hand, if I can keep that from happening in the first place, I win.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Way less paperwork.
So, question for you, because this is the CAFMA Connect, and we are recruiting for positions currently. I'd say we put it in the comments below or whatever, but we have like tens of viewers and subscribers. So,
well, I think there's 12 today because Avery and Jen will probably be watching too.
We're not at the level where they allow us to do that. So we'll say go to cazfire.org or gov, Jonah.
Don't even start.
Okay.
I was going to.
You're going to let the cat out of the bag way too soon. .org, cazfire.org.
cazfire.org. Go to the Join Us page. You can fill out your application online and submit it, which makes things much easier. We're no longer requiring firefighter 1 and 2, but you do have to be an EMT. And if you're not an Arizona licensed EMT, you have to be able to obtain your Arizona state license prior to the end of the 15-week academy. So this is a big change for us.
Yeah.
Going to a 15-week academy and doing firefighter 1 and 2 in-house.
Excellent.
But in your opinion, for anybody watching or listening or wanting to share this with a relative who might be interested in a career like this, why fill out an application for CAFMA?
I think I'll relate it back to me because it's easier for me to say that story. When I first filled out an application for Central Yavapai, when we were separate organizations, I didn't fully know. And I said, well, I might as well. This is kind of what I'm supposed to do. I've got all the classes. I've got everything I need to. And I didn't know a whole lot about the organization other than my brother was a reserve. But I filled out that app and it all fell into place for me right there. You know, I passed the tests. I passed the academy. I got hired. And since then, had I not filled out that very first application, I would probably be years behind and maybe not even here. I probably would have gotten disheartened and said, you know what, I'm not going to do this. Right. But the fact of just filling out that application and then learning more about the organization, taking the test and finding out if this is really for you would be, I think, the best advice that I could give. Because if you fill all this out and you find out that it's not for you, cool, nothing lost. But if you don't fill it out and at the last minute try your hardest to get in, you might have missed the boat. So.
Well, and I think part of it for us is we, as CAFMA, want to make sure that we're setting the expectations correctly, and that's part of what you've helped us do today in talking about the calls that made a difference for you, and none of them that you talked about were the structure fires, as we mentioned, or major motor vehicle crashes. When I think back fondly on my career when I was on an engine or on the ambulance, it's some of those very basic calls where you just ended up holding somebody's hand that, man, I left that scene feeling like I did something.
Yeah, and everybody, so the first time that you take a class, or depending on the first person that you talk to, already tell you those stories. So I don't have to tell you that, oh yeah, fighting a structure fire is great. Yeah, you know that. I hope it never happens again though, because that's something terrible for somebody else. But on the other hand, the parts where I do collect the most for my feel-good bucket is, you know, those little things where we can smile with the person afterwards. We know that they feel better. We know, you know, that their day has gotten better, because that's not what everybody talks about a whole lot is, hey, you're probably going to run 9 to 12, you know, EMS calls today, and they might seem like nothing to you, but it's a big deal to that person, because just that struggle of hitting 911 to call for help when you feel, I don't know, it's silly, I shouldn't do this. I've made that person feel safer in their community, and I've made their day all that little better is really important to me.
And I think at CAFMA, the other part of that is opportunity here. You're wearing your Honor Guard shirt. So another avenue that you can get involved in within CAFMA. We have our own pipes and drums band. They're all volunteers. We actually have people that retired from other states now playing in the pipes and drums band. So it's expanding, and oh my God, it is awesome to hear the pipes and drums play and see you all out there as Honor Guard members. So you can play in the band. You can be part of the Honor Guard. You can look at becoming a SWAT medic. You can get in as a training officer, hazmat tech, technical rescue technician, public education. the world is your oyster.
The only thing that would limit somebody is themselves from saying, hey, I don't want
Right.
to do this. This is all I want to do. That's totally fine. But for those people who are looking for, you mean I can do this also, and that will branch me into something else? Becoming a SWAT medic helped me gain enough experience and go to enough classes that I was able to bring some of that back, and I started instructing in various different things like active shooter classes or first aid for police officers, that kind of stuff that I wouldn't have thought of. Like becoming a reserve police officer means I get to instruct. Like, yeah, you can do that too. You can branch out in all those. I'm a member of the Honor Guard, and we host an academy every year where we get other people who are willing to do the same and put in the same as you are, which is a great feeling.
Sure.
But you can help them so that they can carry that on. And there's a lot of people who have come back to that academy who are actually helping teach now, which is another great thing too. You know, honestly, you want to set yourself up so that everybody can kind of take it from there. And if you need to leave, you can, but everything is still going good. So
just tremendous opportunity. When we look at the technology side of things, you know, if you come work here as a firefighter, if you want to be a drone pilot at some point, Captain Postula has a great program he's put together for drones. And I'm still working on that, Carl, to get you new drones for your program, a couple of new drones. But we have a drone program, and that is great for large incident scenes like the U-Picket fire. It's good for when we're searching for someone who's wandered off and we're trying to find where they are, helping the police department out. We are trying to integrate technology into everything that we do. When you're on a medical call, you're using the PCRs to chart everything, and then there's
makes it so much easier. My hand cramps way less now. Having to use those as opposed to pen and paper. So
I don't know how it works, but I know it's magic.
I'm just so grateful that it works the way it does, because we've had them, either the batteries die or the other day it got too hot on a car wreck in the middle of the highway. I was a fool. It's got a great magnet on it, so you can set it on a car and it'll stay there, which is neat, but it also gets really hot like the car does. And so I kept trying to push it and put in more information, and it was dead. So it saved every bit I had up until the point where it stroked out and died.
Right.
It saved every little bit to the server, so I didn't have to go back and, re-ask all these questions or follow up with the hospital.
Well, and some of these things, like the drone program, some of the PCR stuff was driven by people in the field. You know, firefighters, engineers, paramedics, company officers, battalion chiefs who said, there's this new technology. And of course, that means Jonah gets involved, and Jonah's saying, not another idea.
Yeah. Dear Jonah, I saw this on TV.
This looks wonderful, Jonah.
Exactly.
Let's try this.
I'm just going to start walking around with a buzzer that just goes every time. New idea.
Yeah, I saw that on TV. You could probably get one of those. I'll send you an email about it.
Yeah. They're cheap. But, there's a lot of opportunity to branch out into many different areas, whether it's technical or it's hands-on. You want to be a glowworm, otherwise known as a hazmat tech, have at it.
Yeah.
Those are things you can do. And how many places back in Missouri, we had a lot of what they call, and I know this is weird for Arizona, water. Lots of water. And yet to train on swift water, we would go to Six Flags amusement park.
Use what you got.
And that caused some problems. There were some people who had some broken butts, but because it's kind of shallow.
Yeah.
But here, what's really cool is, our water rescue team, because we don't have a lot of water here, but when we do, it's rushing pretty quickly. They go to Durango, Colorado every year to train in swift water.
That was a great trip to be part of, and that, to fully understand that the department and the agency is willing to send us and say, hey, we would like you to be better at this, so we are willing to send you to Durango, Colorado, where you can actually jump in water and see what it's like. And we've got great instructors who are willing to pass on their knowledge and teach you that, hey, God forbid you have to go and pluck somebody off of a car. Here's how you do it and not get all of you killed. Right. Here's a way that you can do it safely so that the people riding behind me in the engine, they don't have to worry about, am I going to get into something pretty hairy? No, we've trained, we've actually been shown. We're not just YouTube training, not just whiteboard training, but we actually jumped in and did this and rescued each other out of the water. And it makes us feel that much more confident to be able to do that. But when I first got into firefighting, it seemed like you could do EMS or you could do fire. There were those two things.
Right.
And granted, yes, you can branch them off from there, but you can do wildland, which gets you not just wildland, but you can be part of the REMS team, which encompasses the TRT rescue side of it, the EMS side of it on a wildland fire. So if you like to do EMS in the mountains, you can do that.
Well, and think about the crossover from wildland as well for our wildland partners out there. I know there's a lot of folks that are seasonal that would like to get into structure, The problem for them is that they can't get firefighter 1 and 2 through the middle of the year. They kind of still enjoy doing the wall end stuff. Eventually would like to look at structure. Well, here's your opportunity. We're not requiring firefighter 1 and 2 anymore. You can cross over once you're off probation and roll out in a red truck on a green event, so to speak, with the green trucks. So you still have opportunity.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think what you said is important, Nick, because I think it encompasses a lot of why CAFMA. And that is because we invest in you.
I feel very invested in. I do, honestly. Yeah.
And we try to do that for all of our employees. If you want to try something, you want to do something, then we're going to try to help you do that. If it's within the parameters of the things that we do here.
Within the safety bumpers.
Right. But we have, we have some great tuition reimbursement for higher education, because we are requiring more higher education as you promote in the organization. We had one individual who is a reservist with the Army, had an opportunity to go from being in the infantry to being a warrant officer flying Black Hawk helicopters. And he wasn't sure what the agency would say, and came to me and said, here's the opportunity I have. What do you think? And I said, you'd be crazy not to take it. What do you need to make this happen for you? And we'll make it happen. And we helped him. I mean, he's in the reserve, so he has that ability anyways. But
it's not like somebody just bailing and going there, getting their commercial pilot's license. This is something that actually gives back to the community, the state, the nation, but also brings tons of knowledge back to us. He provided us with the landing zone class. With a pilot's perspective, as opposed to, well, we put this blinky thing here and this blinky thing here, and we look up and make sure there's no power lines and hope the pilot's good.
Right.
And he was able to tell us what the pilot's actually looking at and what concerns they might have.
Right.
It ended up being a lot longer conversation than I initially planned, but it all worked out really well. That I learned tons from it.
No, and that type of information is vitally important. And I only bring up that story to show that, hey, we do provide support. We don't just invest in folks who want to go out and train on major motor vehicle crash type of scenarios, through the access class, the auto extrication, extreme auto extrication classes.
Don't forget that.
But anything that you want to accomplish, we want to work with you and try to get you there. And who knows, we may need a pilot one day up here. I've been trying to get a helicopter for a long time.
I've heard.
Yeah. So, and a Black Hawk would be awesome.
Heck yeah.
To think of the stuff we could do with a Black Hawk, Nick.
I don't know what you couldn't do.
I know. Yeah. So we're working on a lot of different programs, a lot of different opportunities. We have our CON application in. So our hope is to be running a couple of transport ambulances in the next 18 months. If that occurs, there's going to be additional opportunity to come in and work here, especially when we look at how we're going to hire for those positions. So again, we want to invest in the people who come here and say, I want to work for this organization. And if we give you the opportunity to work here, then that means we're going to invest in you, not just in the beginning, but for your career.
And I think that's really, so the changing of our requirements, the dropping the 1 and 2 requirement has, I think, going to open the doors a whole bunch wider for a whole bunch of people that we were missing out on in the last couple of years specifically. There are people who, like you said, I've got other jobs, I've got other things that I can't just go to college for right now. Granted, there are people who do put in the work and make that work for them. Right. But if it's not feasible for your family, it's no good to go to this college and get the certification, but also have your family leave you because you left them, to take this class. I think that we are the ones that are going to win in the end by opening up our doors.
I agree. I think as an organization, we're going to be better. And the other part of this is I think that we serve some wonderful communities, some people who really support us. They support law enforcement. We have a tremendous partnership with law enforcement in the area. As a matter of fact, I mentioned recently that 2 of the police chiefs and myself and Chief Dura all met at Founding Fathers socially, police and fire together, hanging out.
On purpose?
On purpose, for drinks. And the conversation there was, hey, we should do this more often. We need to spend more time together like this, because the stronger the relationship personally, the better the relationship professionally. And we can see that. And so it's just a different environment to be in. And so I think if you want to work for CAFMA, I believe that you're going to enjoy the people that you serve and Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Dewey Humboldt, Unincorporated County, Williamson Valley, Paulden. Marnie Ewell, again, we'll bring her name up, Prescott Valley Chamber Executive. She is just outstanding.
She is.
We love her. And those are the types of people that you get to serve if you work for this organization. So it's not just us, it's the communities that we're in.
Absolutely.
And we want to give a shout out to those folks because they are wonderful people, everybody.
They are truly the ones that let us do this.
Yes.
If they weren't happy with what was happening or the service that we were delivering, it would be pretty easy for them to say, nope, we're done with this.
Right.
But luckily, the way that we've carried ourselves and the culture that we have here in CAFMA, I believe that our citizens are proud of us to the point where they're willing to support us because, God forbid, they need us. They know that we're there for them.
Yes. And I think that's a good way to close this segment out, Nick.
I've been waiting for you to say that. Thank you.
Just a reminder to everyone, though, that CAFMA is recruiting right now. Job applications close September 11th into Business Day. You can go to cazfire.org. Jonah, just making sure, cazfire.org. Go to the Join Us page. You can download the application. We're going to be doing more of a push on social media, on the podcast between now and September 11th. We're going to be doing more of a push, wherever we can get the information out, to try to invite people in to be part of the CAFMA family. And hopefully we'll get folks to come out and apply with us. So far, we're already within just 4 days way ahead of where we were with the last recruit process.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
So that's fantastic. Good. And so keep those applications coming.
If you have any questions, if you're on the fence and you see us out and about, ask us. I mean, if we're on a call, maybe wait till after the call. But if you have questions specifically about should I do this, should I not, most likely we're going to say yes. But if you have other questions, feel free to ask, not just through the website, but if you find us, ask us. We'll let you know.
Yeah, and if you want, there's an open invitation. Stop by, talk to our folks anytime. Ask them questions about CAFMA. We put a lot of information on the website. We're a pretty transparent organization, so if you want to know who we are, it is right there on the homepage of the website. So
cazfire.org.
cazfire.org. With that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching or listening if you're on a podcast platform. Nick, thank you for being in here. We're going to definitely have you back.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.